Alright, let's talk about what we got here. So, I was just following a tutorial yesterday and looking at some of this new geometry scripting stuff that Unreal has been putting into the engine. And I just figured I'd follow the tutorial and see what I can do. Get that out. Okay, I can't. Okay, there we go. And I thought this was just a visual trick at first, and then found out that it actually does edit the mesh and remove the collision with it. I can't, move through, but I can if I've actually removed it. So that's pretty fascinating, first of all. And maybe we'll do a show collision in a second and just watch that in real time. But then somebody asked me when I was just showing, I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun and neat. And they're like, well, it would only work on the box from the tutorial because in the tutorial they do append box and set this dynamic mesh component and do all this stuff, and there's just trickery. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you're right. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, no, there's another function called well, let's just go take a look. So we can do anything we want. We can put any mesh in here we like, and we'll probably do that in just a moment. So I'm skipping this now, so we can move that out of the way, and we can just look at the actual functions that are being ran. Yeah, this causes hard chugging, and I'm betting this is a really big part of it, but unsure. Tessellating every frame and every time you touch the object is going to be very hard. So anyway, let's get to it. Yeah, here's the URL. I'll probably put it in the description of the video. And it maybe takes 35 minutes to follow along, depending on if you're in a hurry, paying attention to what he's saying, and a few other things. So not long, pretty good, easy video. And I did already add one thing here. He was doing release component mesh. I'm sorry, yeah. I think release all compute meshes at the end of each hit, and we're not doing that. We're just going to release the one compute mesh that we allocate in the begin play. That's already just one efficiency that was put in, and it works really well. If all you did want to do was create one of these walls like I have in this and shoot it, man, you're solid. Now, if you want a dynamic mesh, let's not use the word dynamic mesh. That's an actual thing. If you want to be able to change the mesh to anything you want and not just use an appended box that's calculated, yeah, this is what I had to do. The main thing is essentially this: copy mesh from static mesh. And well, I guess this is really the secret sauce. This is where the append box would be in the example, and instead I'm saying copy mesh from static mesh, and I'm sending in what I've defined as original mesh. And in this case, I've got a chair as my default, and you can see in the map I have changed it to something else. So let's just make a copy of this, spin it around, and not put it in the way of our gun pickup, and set the mesh to something cool that we can mess with. This statue, and here's the question: can we scale the statue? We can. Wow, look at that. Oh, it's chugging because it is doing that recalculate. Oh, perfect. Good enough. We can apply a material if we wanted. Let's take a look at that too. I haven't even done it. And then I think this would be, I think it's probably the chair. Wow, we're just gonna learn together, aren't we? So hit play, and I should have saved my project. I'm afraid to shoot that one. All right, so let's take a look at the side. Yeah, so yeah, you're gonna have to be careful if you use this in a real game, or just say it's an indie game. Yeah, that's fine. So that, and then, oh, interesting. Doesn't. Well, I've got to figure that one out. Ah, I bet I know why. Show collision. What? Okay, it has much. I wonder how you can show basic collision, because this is advanced collision. I see now. Interesting. So these are being tessellated every frame that they're hit, and retessellated. That's something I removed for these objects where you can change the static mesh from underneath. So I wonder why that doesn't hit. Interesting. Well, I'll find out, and maybe I'll make another video, but I just wanted to show off some interesting tech that I thought was really cool. I've never seen this before yesterday or even heard of it, and I'm starting to learn and get into yeah, just geometry programming stuff. Geometry scripting. There we go. Wow. So, I'm like losing it. I'm thinking about so many different things right now. These do great. Interesting. So, well. Oh, it's like. Is it? Oh, it's just the translucency. Huh. Well, screw it. I mean, nobody's going to watch the video past this point anyway, so I can just do whatever I want and throw it all in there. Let's make it a different mesh. Something also like interesting though, and not just cube or near cube like. A cylinder would be fine. How does that look? Let's change this to, I don't freaking know, sure. Something at least kind of cool to look at. Okay. So, let's do this. Shoot it. Is it the scaling? Is it the scaling? It doesn't know. Well, I bet that's right. I bet you have to scale the original mesh. Ah. Yeah, that would make sense. So, here's the question. We have a full copy of the mesh. It's not like a reference to a piece of data like I did here. This is one other efficiency I added. I forgot to mention. He pulls in the mesh of the projectile every frame, like has it set statically. I ask for the projectile's mesh and send that in. So that was one other efficiency. I don't even know if you call it an efficiency, but right, if I changed what the mesh was of the shape I'm shooting, yeah. If I shot different objects, it would, or different meshes, out from my gun, I mean. Floating piece to fall. Yeah. Oh, that would be really cool. So, yeah. Other than that, you could even do this in multiplayer. Just you would have to perfectly replicate, or very close to perfectly replicate, the collisions, right? So, I'm not sure off the I mean, it depends on what kind of game you're making and all sorts of stuff, but you would need very tight simulations of where your projectiles are going in this case, so that the cuts are mirrored perfectly. But you otherwise could do it. You would never mirror all of the changes to the static mesh. You would just simulate the same changes based off of the same data. You could probably do hit validation and make sure, yeah, you would replicate the hits. That's how you do it. Yes, that would probably work. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, I hadn't really considered replication until just now, so I'm all over the place. So, can we get our static mesh? Why? what's the difference between hit location and hit impact point? This is probably... forget all that. All right. If hit result... location in world space of the actual contact of the trace shape with the impacted object. So we were doing... So here's our easiest test before we go too crazy. Do we just say... impact point. Does that work just as well? No. Okay. So no. This is supposed to be... Oops. Instead of just wigging out and trying to narrate this live. So what is the difference now between hit location and hit impact point? I guess I don't understand that at all. Location in world space where the moving shape. Okay. Location. These sounding... In the case of initial overlap, impact point will be the same location, which is what we were just trying to figure out the difference was. There's no meaningful single impact point to report. Then what is the difference? So there's no real difference so far. It sounds like there is an edge case difference where you might need this impact point versus hit location. But I've always used hit location, so we'll just continue with that most likely. For swept movement but not queries, may not equal the final location of the shape since hits are pulled back slightly to prevent precision issues from overlapping. Okay, so a hit already tries to take into account probably replication, actors getting stuck inside other actors when they penetrate too deeply and then don't know where to go. So this is sort of this is a massaged piece of data that you usually want to use almost all of the time. But in this case, we do really want this precise surface location, which is what impact point sounds like it should be. So we're going to stick with impact point. Now, if we can figure out... Why is it like that? I don't understand. Oh. Nobody saw that. Did I make it 0 instead of 1? Yes. Oops. Dude. Okay. But I really just want it to be... How did it even let me do that? Let it be known. Okay. So I think the issue is the scaling still, though I think we're going to test that now. And then just move this slightly, and then lock this, and then scale it by many times, then hit play. Huh. Well, the removal was scaled too, that's wild. So it's not the scaling. So what is it? all I can think of after that is that these static meshes don't have good collision or something. Huh. Really? No, simple collision. Perfect, that's fine. It has complex collision. Interesting. Wonder why it doesn't like that. Why did I expose the swap mesh? Probably didn't need to. Whatever. Well, alright. So, good to know if you do scale your meshes. Okay. You need to descale the collision. Alright, well, that's good enough for this video. Wild stuff. Super fun.